Welcome to David and David on Real Estate. Join us as we explore the ins and outs of the real estate market.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the David on Real Estate. And we are today on podcast number 32. Unbelievable.
And welcome back, David. We missed you from podcast 31. Sabia was fabulous, as I knew she would. She was great to have on. She's a pleasure to talk to. She knows so much, so it was great. But we missed you. Glad to have you back. And she's such a good team player, which is part of our topic for today. And some of the stuff that we talked about last week, and having her on your team I know she's a huge asset to you.
Unbelievable. I mean, Sabia is the lifeline of the brokerage, really, and she's really the glue that keeps everything together. So we're very fortunate to have her, and I'm glad she was able to join the podcast last week. It's good to be back, David. Good to be here with you.
Well, glad you were able to recharge and ready to go.
Absolutely. And I think, to everybody listening, I think the key for everybody to really recharge and to keep their energy up is to take as much vacation as possible. And I encourage everybody to take short bits of vacation, but in frequent intervals, just to get those batteries charged up.
Yeah, good advice. I think I got to take your advice. I think I've taken off about 4 or 5 days work in the last 2 years. But I'm planning to do the same. I got to take some time off and do that as well, and try and get away from this a little bit. I think we need it. So good for you for doing it.
COVID. It's been tough with COVID, right? And I mean, you and I spoke about this just before we got on the air, and you asked me. For those of our listeners that don't know, I actually went on a 5-day snowmobile vacation around Algonquin Park, and I did over 1,100 kilometers in a snowmobile last week, which was absolutely phenomenal. It was a great experience. Highly recommended to anybody listening. Ontario is just such a beautiful province, and our snowmobiling is second to none in the world. But it's nice to go out there and unplug and I turned all my notifications off, and I used my cell phone for navigating a little bit, but I tried to stay off my phone. And I think recharging like that is really, really important. And I think because of COVID, people are looking at vacations and different things to do around Ontario in a different way.
Yeah, and just to clarify something, if CRA is watching this, he was actually scouting properties. 1,100 kilometers worth of properties up in the northern country, looking for the next real estate deal. So just want to put that on the record.
100%. That makes the trip 100% tax deductible for those of you listening. Well, David, let's jump into our market update for February of 2022. And let me tell you guys, I'm feeling some changes out there. I'm feeling some changes out there. We're seeing a few more properties relist. We're seeing some price changes as well. And we are starting to see a small shift. The first shift that we're starting to see is we are seeing inventory levels rise slowly. We're getting a lot of feedback from our realtors that their phones are ringing and people are actually considering listing their house, which is the first thing that we've been, the first trend that we're actually seeing in the positive move for a very, very long time. The second trend that we're seeing is we're actually starting to see the number of offers ever slightly decrease. And we're starting to see some of these pricing strategies where realtors are holding back offers, backfire a little bit, and those properties having to relist and go back on the market at a different price. Sometimes the price increases because the seller's expectations haven't been met because not enough offers came in. And sometimes when they're in a little bit of a more motivated position, they need to sell, they need to readjust their asking price because their expectations are set a little bit too high, right? Now, this trend is still very new. It's very lightly encroaching, and and settling in. It's not like we're feeling the whole market react to this. There's still lots of other pockets that haven't been affected, and we're still seeing multiples, but slowly we are seeing this trend emerge. So I want all our listeners to be, very cautious, especially realtors. The market is ever slightly changing out there.
Well, that's really encouraging, and that's exactly the trend that we were looking for and hoping for. And it's the trend that generally starts to happen when we get to this time of year. Now we're in the later part of February, and the thought of the winter thaw is happening, and people are getting ready for the spring market. So that's exactly what we are hoping for and looking for. That's what the market needs, right? We need the supply to get there. We need people getting their houses ready to list so that those listings do come out, increase the supply, get us back to a little more level market off some of these bidding wars. And I always find it interesting when you have to relist because you don't get that activity that you thought you were going to get, and they're listing at a higher price. And people sometimes don't understand, what do you mean you're listing at a higher price? The reason you're doing that, you'll correct me if I'm wrong, is because it wasn't listed at the right price in the first place. They listed it at a below market price in an attempt to entice a bunch of competing offers, right? And now they didn't get that. So now the sellers were, hey, I may not get even a real fair market price here. So now they got to bump it up to a price to protect the seller, saying, no, this is if you get this real asking price, that's more a fair market price, right?
Yeah, David, it all comes back to expectations, right? And I mean, I think, it's so important for everybody to really understand. People have been pricing properties to encourage multiple offers for the last, year and a half, right? And buyers have a certain expectation. When they see a price come up on MLS, they no longer say, oh, that house is listed for 1.499. They say,
right,
oh, there's another house listed. It's going to sell for $2 million.
Right.
Right. So when they apply that logic to every single house listed on realtor.ca, that's when problems start to happen, because certain agents that are feeling the change in our market and who are following the statistics, who are looking at how many properties relist and do a price change because they didn't sell on multiple offer situations, that are trying to adjust their strategy, are actually falling into an issue where, hey, I listed this property $1,799,000 expecting to get close or around asking, and all of a sudden I don't have any showings, right? And the reason you don't have any showings in your property is because as a society, we're so conditioned that, hey, whatever lists on realtor.ca is going to sell for $200,000-$300,000 over asking, that now the expectation is that the 1,799 is probably going to go for 2.1. And you know what? That's too expensive. That's completely out of line.
Right.
I'm not going to waste my time going to look at a bungalow with 3 bedrooms and only 1 bathroom where I don't think I'm going to be able to get it. So, this is a self-inflicted wound that we're kind of seeing right now.
Right. And that's why you've got to be very careful with your choice of real estate agent. If you're selling, you got to have the right strategy. If you're buying, you want to be working with an agent that understands these things and can see through it and tell you what the real value is, what the real price is, what the real market is for that property. And to tell you, don't waste your time looking at this, because as high as you can go is 1.7. This property is going to go at 2.1. So there's no reason to even look at it. Like, you're wasting your time. They're just trying to suck people in to get multi offers. So you got to have the right representation, the right advice on whether you're a buyer or a seller to understand what's going on.
Yeah, and as a buyer agent, now more than ever, you have to do a lot more work to be able to really make your buyers more competitive in this market, right? So for that 1977 house, before you book a showing, you should be calling the listing agent and having conversations about, what are your price expectations? Because if the listing agent says, hey, you know what, we don't want to be competing, and some sellers are like this, some sellers, they had to compete when they were buying, and now they're selling their house, and they don't want the buyer that's going to buy their property to go through the same aggravation that they went through when they bought their property that they're now moving into, right? So, I mean, the situations are so unique, and the pricing strategies are so unique as well, that now the agent that represents the buyer really needs to pick up the phone, call the listing agent, build a rapport, have a conversation, and that rapport building needs to start a much earlier process in the showing than it ever needed to get done before.
Well, the good news is we hope that this trend continues, right? Because that's the direction we need the market to go in, to eliminate some of this, for lack of a better term, some of the bullshit that goes on in the market, and get back to realistic pricing, realistic listing prices, so buyers know exactly what they're looking at, the right properties, and cut through all this. So hopefully that's the trend that'll continue, get more supply out there, and let's have a good spring market for everybody.
100%. We need the market to stabilize. We need to go back to the days where buyers can do home inspections, buyers can, take a few hours to make a decision. We need to protect everybody, right? Buyers and sellers included. And, for that to happen, the best thing to do is for us to be in a more stable market than we have been. And I think we're seeing the trend to get us there.
Right. Yeah. So that's great news. Great news. Because we're already in late February. It's time. It's time to get moving.
Time to get moving. So the other big trend that we've been seeing, for the last number of years, but I would say it's really becoming mainstream in the last 6 years or so, is the explosion of real estate teams. And I mean, David, I'm sure you know this as well. Agents starting to collaborate, agents starting to pool their resources, agents starting to work together, to achieve bigger things.
Right. Right. Which is sort of the topic we want to get into today, talking about teams and teamwork and how that benefits people in the real estate industry. Before we do that, if you don't mind, I always like to tell a story of something interesting happens in our office. It's got nothing to do with the topic that we're really going to talk about today, but we had a closing that I think our watchers, our viewers, or listeners might find interesting, because I talk about all the time, like, you think you've seen everything, and and why do deals go off the rails sometimes? And here we got just a standard purchase and sale, residential resale property. We're acting for the buyer, moving towards a closing that was supposed to happen on Friday, and nothing really unusual that we're seeing at our end. We searched title. There was a refinance done 6 months ago. There was a first mortgage, and there's a private mortgage. First mortgage new mortgage goes on. The private mortgage, the old first mortgage comes off. Private mortgage gets discharged. We send our regular requisition letter. Just when we close, we need you to pay out the new first mortgage. We're ready to go. And then we get a call from our title insurance company 2 days before closing saying, we're not going to insure this property. We're denying insurance. So
That's
why?
unusual.
Yeah. So we don't get a real good answer, which was the problem. But it turns out they're concerned with the private mortgage that was discharged, because when it was discharged, it was done by a different lawyer that's acting for the seller now. So they want information as to what happened. Send us information. When that mortgage was discharged, we need evidence that there was a signed discharge by the owner, or by the lender rather, and that monies were paid to discharge this private mortgage, because they're looking for fraud. Okay, I'm looking for clear title, and I got clear title, but they're looking for fraud. Was that mortgage taken off improperly to clear the title? So send us some evidence. So we don't have it. We're acting for the buyer. So we got to relay this to the seller's lawyer and say, hey, and the seller's lawyer didn't act. So he's got to contact the lawyer that acted back then, say, what's the story with this private mortgage? They need evidence that the lender signed a discharge and that monies were paid. So the answer that came back was, here's a copy of the signed discharge from the lender, but it wasn't witnessed. There's some scribbles on a page, wasn't witnessed. And they said, but there was no money were exchanged through the lawyer's office for this private discharge. So title insurance says, sorry, we're not playing. We're out. So our office gets in touch with another title insurance company. There's only 4 of them, and they contact another one saying, we've got a problem. Could you insure this? But the first thing that a title insurance company is going to ask you is, it's part of the regular question, have you been turned down by another title insurance company? And as soon as you say yes, they say, well, we have our
We're
own
not
policy,
playing
but we
either.
trust them.
Right.
Why should we touch this? So anyways, this is, it's part of our conversation about teamwork and everything too, because I got a clerk on this, I've got an associate lawyer dealing with this, but they bring this to my attention too. Like, what are we going to do with this? So I get in touch with the title insurance company, and I said, they said, sorry, we're not doing, this is why we're concerned about this private mortgage. We know that. I said, I don't know. I don't need the reasons why you don't want to do it. I understand what you're nervous about. I want you to tell me exactly what you need in order for you to approve this. What evidence do you require in order to approve this? And I said, oh, we didn't really think of it that way. I said, well, I need you to think of that. We got to close a deal tomorrow, and we need to know what we need to get. So he said, well, we need to know from the lawyer that acted that if there was no money paid, was there another, why did they discharge with no money? Did they get other security? We need confirmation of other security. We need who acted for the lawyer. We need who acted for the lender, who acted for the borrower. We need confirmation of it. We need to know what the story was, why, and something in writing from a lawyer that acted. So we have to relay it through the seller's lawyer, because it's not us, it's the seller. Like, we're just trying to buy. This is their problem in their history. And their lawyer's not responding.
It's like you guys are third in the chain.
Yeah, like, we don't have direct privity to go and chase this down, but we're trying to do what we can to get our client title insurance. We can't close without title insurance at this point. We're 2 days before the closing. There isn't time to do all the searches and stuff that be required to close without title insurance, because there's a way to do it, but there's no time at this point to do it. So we've got to find a way to get title insurance. So we're relaying this to the other lawyer. The other lawyer is nowhere to be found, not responding really well. And then finally get her, but she's got to get a hold of a lawyer that acted 6 months ago to get their file out, to get her to write a proper letter. And she writes like a one-line thing. Yeah, we acted. We took. There's no money came through our office, but we put a mortgage on another property. It was really an exchange of one security for other security. So now we got something. But we need it just written in a proper letter format to explain the situation. We go back to the title insurance company and said, you get confirmation, this is what happened. They took it off this property, but they put the security on a different property in order to allow this refinance to go through. Like, that's a legitimate thing, as long as the paperwork stands up to that. And they said, yeah, if you can get evidence of that, we'll title insure. Okay. But now it's late in the day on the day of closing, and we can't get the proper correspondence to the other lawyer. So we run out of time to close that day. Like, we know what the answer is, but we couldn't get it done in time, right? So we asked, okay, we got to extend now until Tuesday, Monday being a holiday. We got a long weekend.
Right.
Title insurance now saying, if you get this for us, we'll be able to do it. We can close on Tuesday. So now the other lawyer writes us a letter. We're ready, willing, and able to close. You're in breach of the agreement. You didn't close. We're ready to close. Blah, blah, blah. If you want to extend, we want, there's a letter they send us on the Tuesday morning now, at the end of the week, like the beginning of the next day, saying, we want $1,000 to cover our costs over the weekend and $500 for our legal fees for the extension. And if you give us that, then we're prepared to close today. So, our client obviously is not happy. Like, yeah, we didn't close as buyers, but only because of the seller couldn't clean this up or get us proper information in a timely fashion as to what happened here. So technically, yeah, the buyer couldn't close because we didn't have title insurance, but it's really the seller's fault. We should be going to them and saying, you pay us something over the weekend and pay for our legal. We're the one chasing this down, and you're the one being non-responsive to us. So anyways, no, we insist on this, we're not closing. So I get on the phone with the other lawyer and say, this is, each side should pay their own legal costs. We're not paying you $1,000. We sent you the money already. All the documents are signed. We got to close this today. Otherwise, we're going to close in protest without prejudice to our rights, because we're going to come after you and your client to recover the $1,000 plus your legal fees, plus our legal fees, because this was a seller's problem. Seller didn't have a clear situation and didn't act in a timely fashion. That's the reason it didn't close. So, it's a bit of a gray area, because it's really the buyer's default. because we couldn't close. But, and I'm sort of upset with the title insurance company because they gave us pretty late notice on it too. And they didn't give us a good enough explanation the first go around. They just denied without saying, well, I don't like, it's not good enough you just deny. I want to know what it takes for you not to deny. What do you need? And it was like pulling teeth till I got that. Once we got that, we found a solution. So anyways, it ended up closing yesterday. They backed off in their position. Everybody covered their own legal fees. We didn't pay them the $1,000 to, for their costs over the weekend, and they saw the light, and we closed with title insurance. So the end of the day, it's a good, I wouldn't tell you a story unless we had a good ending at the
end. Well, I mean, a lot of learning lessons there, but great work of teamwork, right? And communication, and not taking the first no for an answer, and going back and getting everybody to become comfortable with it, right? And I mean, what a great approach. What do you need? Like, there's something that you feel uncomfortable about. What do you need to feel comfortable to move forward?
Yep. And a lot of it, I felt too, the response I got from the title insurance company, once I really got to them and said, what do you need? They knew who was asking. They knew it was my firm asking. And we have a long relationship with the title insurance company, like a really good relationship. It's very reciprocal. We give them lots of business, lots of referrals. We have a good relationship with all the title insurance companies because of the volumes that we do. And generally, they're pretty good with us. Like, they're really responsive. They're usually looking for a way to help us get a deal closed and not the other way. And here you had some guy an underwriter who doesn't really know us. And I said, check our records, check who we are. Like, I'm not bullshitting you. We want this deal closed. I need you to find a way. What will it take? Talk to whoever you got to talk to, go up the ladder, whoever you got to talk to. What do you need to get this closed? What confirmation do you need? Because that's what we got to focus on. We need a solution. Not everybody can see the problem, but we need to focus on a solution. And I think I got a timely response from at that point, partly because of our reputation as a firm. And I wasn't calling it a favor, but they knew that we're not, that we're not some fly-by-night law firm. They were really concerned about the lawyer acting for the seller and the lawyer that previously acted for the seller. And that's what got them suspicious. You just did a refinance 6 months ago. Why are you using a different lawyer now that you used 6 months ago? And we don't know either of these lawyers. Right. So from their point of view, like, this smelled from fraud until they dug in.
Yeah. And I love this story because to me, it's nice to know that there's check and balances along the way as you're buying and as you're closing. And I mean, them stepping in and having this concern, I mean, protected a whole bunch of, angles and parties and situations in this transaction. And, I think it's great to have those check and balances along the way, and to have a partner that, is super professional and diligent in how they approach their work. And I think everybody benefits at the end of the day.
Yeah. Yeah. And to tie in with our topic today, there was lots of teamwork at our end. I had a fabulous senior law clerk that was on this file, and was jumping all over it as soon as this went off the rails, because she's got enough experience to know that, okay, we got to get on this. We can't wait for the seller's lawyer to try and figure this out. We got to try and contact everybody ourselves. We got to be the quarterback of this. We got to drive it. She knew that she had to get me involved right away, because a lot of times our clerks, like, they're very experienced. They talk to the title insurance companies directly and give them information to clarify things. But she recognized, no, this is a time I got to get David involved as well. And we got to be pushing the right buttons and get me, to communicate directly with the other lawyer, to read her the riot act a little bit, let her know it's her responsibility. So I think it was a really good example of teamwork at our end too. So I was proud of the way things were handled at our end, which sort of is my segue into our teamwork topic today, the importance of having good teams, whether you're a law firm or a real estate agent. So what are the advantages of being a team in real estate instead of an individual entrepreneur?
Well, David, I mean, it's tough to run the business by yourself, right? I mean, you run a really successful law firm, we run a really successful brokerage, and there really is no I in team, right? Realtors are no exception, right? As a realtor, you're a one-man entrepreneur. You have to lead generate. You have to do your accounting. You have to go out there and meet clients. You got to go out there and kiss babies and show houses and put deals together and submit paperwork and be organized and keep paperwork and make sure you hold it for 7 years and make sure you have systems and processes in place and make sure you have enough cash flow to pay your bills and make sure you have adequate insurance, make sure you keep up with the training. I mean, the list is absolutely infinite. Just like any other business owner and entrepreneur knows how tough it is to run a really successful, high pace, high intensity business, right? And it's really tough to do it all by yourself, right? So over the last 6 to 8 years, we've seen this explosion of a trend where people are pulling resources and really coming together on a big scale to their position and to really grow their resources to accomplish some of those things that I just mentioned. And it's becoming a really mainstream team. And teams can be, as small as a 2 people, husband and wife real estate teams. Right. And we've seen the evolution of these mega teams that have 20 agents and different marketing departments and different lead generation departments that work really well together to further their agenda and their mission.
Right. So like within your brokerage, you have a bunch of teams, right?
We do. Yep.
And I know there's the husband and wife teams, and that's sort of been around for a long time. And I always thought that was pretty good when they're both really, really into the business, not just one is really doing it and the other just happens to be licensed as well, but isn't doing it. But it's always nice when we be able to tag team on it. It's when one's not available, the other one's available, right? So that's a real advantage right there, because if you're maybe you go through it if you're on your own, if you're doing it solo and you're not available, you want to go on a vacation, you've got appointments booked in 2 different places, then you got to bring in someone else to cover for you, right? And what usually happens in those situations?
Well, listen, time is a finite resource, right? There's only 24 hours in the day, and you're one person. You can only be in one place at one time, right? And Sabia, she says it really well. This is a belly to belly business, right? This is a person to person business. This is a relationship business, right? So, it's really hard to leverage your position and to be at 2 places at once and to really, proper relationship with your clients. So I think by, working collaboratively together, you can leverage those resources and in a lot of times you can service your clients better as well.
Right. So if an agent is acting on their own, not part of a team, and they have to bring another agent because they're going away, or they need someone to cover for them for an open house or to do a showing or whatever it is, generally there's some arrangement made between the 2 agents about how the remuneration is going to flow, right? It's up to them to figure that out. There's no set standard usually, or do you sort of try to keep things consistent within the brokerage?
The one requirement we have at Sutton Summit is that agreement has to be in writing, and a copy of it has to be submitted to the management team ahead any offers or any sort of working relationship. That really avoids a lot of the conflicts that can be generated by entering into some of these relationships. But we don't, have any stipulations or we don't guide our agents as to, the exact contents of those remuneration agreements.
Okay. And is it a variety of arrangement? Like, is there a big range of what people would agree to in those situations as opposed to there being, well, it's sort of an accepted standard that you get a half a point or a quarter point or something if you get involved, something like that?
There is. And I mean, it goes from, hey, you know what, no remuneration, and it's just when I go on vacation, I'll take care of your clients. When you go on vacations, you take care of my clients. And we just
Right.
have that understanding and that relationship, and that's something that's cultivated over a really long period of time, and it's based on trust. And it goes to the other side of the spectrum where, hey, it's my client, and you know what, I'll share a 25% lead with you, but I'm keeping 75% of the commission because I've been working with this client. I've known this family for 25 years. I've done business with them. They trust me. I have the paperwork signed with them, and you're only stepping in a temporary situation and covering me while I'm away on vacation, right? So I mean, the spectrum and the range is pretty large.
Okay. And I think the key, and like you said, is regardless of what they agree upon or negotiate, they've got to put it in writing and
Yes.
submit it, because otherwise you just know there's going to be a problem down the road. Because even whatever they agreed to, sometimes one or the other is not going to be happy with the arrangement because they spent way too much time on it, or they hardly spent any time on it. So one may not be happy after the fact to say, hey, I agreed to pay you this much, but you end up having to do nothing or very little. Well, too bad, so sad. That worked out for me this time. Next time might work out for you. But at least it's already in writing, so there isn't going to be a dispute over it. So I think that's sort of the key, right? So every time they're doing something like that, they got to reduce it to writing, submit it to protect everybody.
100%. And the culture you have inside the brokerage is really, really important. I've been a part of lots of different brokerages. I mean, I know we've touched on this every once in a while, but we're not, or the culture we have at Sutton Summit Realty is not like a conventional real estate brokerage. It's not competitive, right? It's very much team focused and team oriented, where people collaborate, people brainstorm, people put ideas together, and there's a lot of teamwork and a lot of sharing of ideas that happen within our brokerage. So we've been very fortunate, and we've had very instances where there has been internal conflict because of commission, just because of that culture that we're very, very careful how we cultivate it, right?
Right. But there is a growing trend, I guess is fair to say, of more and more of this teamwork, growing formalized teams, right? Some small and some are growing. And then they've got to be very careful as well, reduce it all to writing as to what the splits are, who gets paid what, who's doing what, how they share, etc. And then like any team, some guy's the rookie on the team, and there's the seasoned vets, and there's right. So there, I think if you're a young agent in there, you want to know, is there an opportunity to grow within the team? And will those splits change over time? And what's the plan? But it's completely up to, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's up to whatever is negotiated and whatever the team leader is prepared to offer by putting the team together.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, that relationship can change over time, right? As a team member joins and proves their value to the team and keeps bringing in more business, or attains a certain level of production, and that conversation can always be revisited, and that position can always be negotiated. But it's really important to, again, have those agreements in writing, have very clear expectations, and really understand, what their goal is in number one, creating a team, starting a team, and number two, what the agent's goals are that are joining the team as well, right? Because each team, operates in such different capacities, and there's different types of teams. There's teams where realtors are really busy, they have a lot of leads, and they're looking for team members to take care of some of the excess business that they're no able to take care of because they're just too busy being a one-person realtor. And then there's teams that we're actually starting to see evolve where two really busy agents get together, or three really busy agents that have similar production levels get together, and they actually pool their resources, share expenses, and then divide their revenue equally among themselves, right? And the benefit of these types of teams is that if you have if you're by yourself and you have a marketing budget of $10,000, If you join forces and there's 3 of you, then now your marketing budget becomes $30,000, and you can do certain things that you can't do when you're by yourself.
Right.
Right. The other thing, is you become hyper focused on what you bring to the team that you're really good at. So for example, if you're great at, prospecting, and your strength is, but your strength perhaps isn't organization, systems, and paperwork, then, you focus on prospecting, and hopefully you have another team member in the team that, is highly organized, highly structured, highly systemized, that can fill in some of those voids and some of those gaps that, you don't have as part of your repertoire. So if you have 3 people that specialize in certain skill sets that can come together and really offset each other's core strengths, then together you're that much stronger than you would be by yourself.
Yeah, that I find really interesting, because I can relate to that, because that's the type of team building that I've generally been associated with. When you're looking for people that bring different things to the table to make the overall unit stronger, and we do the same thing in the law business. Like, once upon a time, there was a lot of sole practitioners doing real estate. It's really, really hard to be a sole practitioner right now doing real estate. It's changing all the time. There's systems, there's technology changes. You're torn in a million different directions. It's really hard. And it's really important to have a good team around you. And that's not just clerks and accounting people and doing what you're dealing with, office systems and things like that, but also other lawyers around. And we look the same thing when we're hiring people. We're not just looking, I don't want the next person that's going to be, I need another Jonathan Hakohen to do what he does. So he's got like really good skill sets at a certain level, that are fabulous. I don't necessarily need the next one of him, but I maybe need someone that can really, draft other documents well, or do research well, or really be in the trenches, or really good at doing title searches. Like, there's different things that you bring to the table. And lawyers are like that too. Some lawyers are really good at marketing and bringing in business, and other lawyers are terrible at doing it, and they're really good at just getting the work done on a professional level. And then a lot of us are sort of in between. And you got to find out what people's strengths and weaknesses are. But I think that's team building. That's what we look for in our office. Like, who's the next team player? What are their strengths? What are their weaknesses? Let's let them do what they're good at, and give them lots of that. And then we can work on their weaknesses too, to make them more well-rounded. But I think that's great. I think those are the teams that I've seen in your office work well, where it's not everybody's exactly the same. They're bringing different things to the table, right? Like, some people hate the business side of it. Like, they just hate the admin side, right? And but they're great at just going out and getting clients and getting the deal closed, right? But they hate doing the paperwork and dealing with everything else.
Absolutely. And I mean, there's such a variety of different demographics out there, right? And we're starting to see teams fill in certain one of those demographics. So, are you, do you speak Mandarin, right? Do you speak, Spanish, right? So we're starting to see teams like focus on a lot of different dynamics like that as well, and to sort of fill in some of those gaps that, do you speak French, for example? Maybe you want a French speaking realtor on your team, right? So you can, help people transition between different, parts of the country and from different industries. And, you just want to be able to say, hey, if you need a French speaking realtor, we're the team that you should consider.
Right. Yeah, and we look at that too in our hiring practice too. Like, we've got about 18 different languages spoken within our office now. Some it's the lawyers, some it's the clerks, some it's people in accounting. But we find out who can speak what language. We want to know what languages you can speak and how well you can speak, because we might need you at some point to help us out on something. So, we look at it. It's not, we don't directly go out as part of our hiring practice necessarily say, we need this, but we want to find out what everybody can bring to the table. What are their overall skill sets, right?
Yeah, and we're seeing that more and more. Like, even in our admin department, I'll walk in sometimes and, one of the staff members speaking Urdu to our realtors. But, at the end of the day, we're here to service them, right? And if they feel more comfortable speaking their native language about some of the issues that are affecting them, then I'm happy and proud that, you know, we have the resources to be able to accommodate that, make them feel more comfortable.
Yeah. So if you're a young agent starting out and they come to you, and like, which way do you encourage them? Like, should they go to try and join a team, or are they better off, doing it on their own to start? Or, what type of direction do you generally try to give them?
It depends. That's the short answer. The long answer is that, you know what, joining a team has its advantages for a new agent, right? There's an aspect of mentorship. There's an aspect of accountability, right? Whenever I interview new agents, I always share with them that the brokerage that they choose and the path that they choose at the beginning is extremely important. There's a lot of realtors. There's a high dropout rate. There's a high threshold to be successful in this business, and the decision that they make, whether to join a certain brokerage or whether to be part of a team, is a fundamental decision that's going to really translate and impact their level of success, right? The benefits of joining a team, again, accountability, you have that mentorship aspect, the person that you connect with, that you can spend time with and mentor in the business, become very, very important. So if you're interviewing a certain team and you connect really well with the person that you're going to be mentoring or shadowing, there's a huge benefit to joining that team and to, cultivating that relationship, right? Same with the brokerage that you join, right? The management team that you interact with, if you have the opportunity to connect with one of them and to mentor them and to really establish that relationship, that's going to really play a big difference in the career path that you're going to have in the industry.
Yeah. I think you really have to look at everybody's personality type. And, in our conversations about what we're talking about, I always like to bring it back to sports, and you put the word team out there, and it's always, you come to sports and the stuff we learn from having played sports, and the leadership that comes with that and everything. And I think a lot of it is, is someone going to be a good team player, and how are you a good player? It doesn't fit everybody's personality. Like, you could be a really good athlete, but your sports are tennis and golf, like solo activities where it's all up to you. And people handle that pressure and like that independence. And there's others that are, no, put them in a team concept, and they will excel. And they don't have to be the best guy in the team. Sometimes they can be the worst guy in the team, but give them a role in a team and they get it, and they just want to make the team better. And they're just really good team players. So I think a lot of it comes down to a personality type, because not everybody plays well on a team, right? It really has got to come down to the type of personality.
Yeah, and we started doing a lot more personality tests when we hire realtors, and sort of when we guide them through whether they should be joining a team, or whether we should be encouraging them to pursue a solo career, because again, that plays into the whole dynamics of their level of success and where they're going to excel, right? And as a leader, it's really important that I'm able to recognize that as well, because if they're highly competitive and highly self-motivated, and they're very independent how they approach their work, right? Then it's going to be really difficult for me to put them in within a team environment for them to really excel.
Right. And the leadership of the team has to be good too, right? It's got to be the right environment. They've got to be really welcoming. They've got to appreciate the other team members and their contributions and recognize that and give them opportunities, etc. Otherwise, you're on the wrong team, right? You're putting yourself in a situation where you might just be taken advantage of for a period of time until you figure it out and you leave, and then they just get the next one in.
And you know what, David, this is where we're seeing, a really big trend emerging in the team segment, is we're seeing a lot of realtors successful realtors, highly successful realtors deciding to start teams, right? But it's really difficult to transition from a sole entrepreneur when you're highly successful to, being a leader, being a coach, being able to motivate a number of people to, do certain things that have led you to be successful.
Right.
Right. And this is where we're seeing a lot of issues start coming up because, people join teams having a certain amount or certain expectations. Those expectations are not met, and then they're leaving after 6, 8, 9 months, a year, and they're either joining different teams, they're starting on their own, and leaving the team environment. And I think, when you start a team, you have to start a team for the right reasons, right? You have to really change your focus of how you do business, how you talk to people, how you lead, how you motivate, how you structure your systems, how you structure the business, right? And you have to realize that when you start a team, the most important thing in that team is feeding the people that are part of your team, making sure that they're successful in what they do, right? Because if you take care of them, they will take care of you.
Exactly. And that's why leadership is so important, setting the right environment, the right culture. For part of it, it's got to be, oh, I need someone to help me out. So I'll bring you in, you'll get paid a certain amount, you benefit because I'm too busy, I just need help. So that's about me. No, it's got to be about you. I'm going to bring you in because I'm going to teach you, you're going to learn, you're going to grow, you're going to be a part of the team. Eventually you'll take over, you'll do my job, but you'll bring the next guy in, like we're going to grow together, right? That's the culture you want to do. That's what we try and do in our law firm. Like we try and hire people that we want. No, you're not just giving you a job. Anybody can give you a job. You want a job? Don't come to us. You want a career? You want to build Kormans LLP? You want to make it your own? We'll find a role for you. We'll bring you along. We'll give you all the encouragement in the world, and you'll take over and the firm. You'll run it. You'll make it better, right? That's it doesn't always come true, but that's the attitude that we're trying to establish. That's the leadership that we try to set here. And I think if an agent gets in that right situation, I think there's huge benefits, especially as a young agent starting out.
Huge benefits, absolutely. And I mean, you have to ask the right questions, right? Like, remember, it's a two-way interview when you're interviewing a team, right?
Exactly.
They're interviewing you, but
Right.
you should be interviewing them as well, right?
Yeah.
You have to be asking the right questions as well. You have to make sure that you get that mentorship experience, which is number one, right?
Yeah.
You have to get the accountability experience. You have to learn the systems. Everything else comes secondary to that, learning how to put an offer together, learning, the basics. I mean, your brokerage should be able to teach you that. You shouldn't be paying the brokerage their split and then giving up 50% of your earnings to a team just to be taught how to do an offer, right? That's not a good use of your resources. That's not a good or sufficient enough reason to give up 50% of your earnings for you to get that kind of experience. You should be getting that from the brokerage level, not from the team level.
Right. Look, I can tell you on a personal level how I've seen the benefits of someone joining a team. I've talked about it before. One of my sons is a real estate agent, and he started out in his early 20s, and he was looking around to figure out, when he wanted to do this, and looked at different opportunities, different brokerages and everything. And he ended up joining a team. And as a dad, I'm concerned back at the time, like, well, like there's 8 people on the team, you're going to be the 8th guy. How's this going to be good for you? Because, is there an opportunity to grow? Or are you better off just doing your own thing? And he said, no, like this is a good team. He knows the people. It's a strong referral, like for the leadership of the team, like really good people and everything. And I thought, okay, maybe as a dad, he go, okay, maybe this will work out for years to get some experience, and then he'll do his own thing. So, anyways, it's been 12, 13, 14 years now or something, and he's still there.
Wow.
And that team has grown from what it was to, it broke off from the brokerage that it was at as a team and created its own brokerage. And he's part of that. But he grew so much, so fast within the team, because I think he was in the right team. in his first year as an agent, I think he had the equivalent of 5 years of experience as an agent, because he was, everything was open to him, whether it was his deal or not his deal. He had access to it. He saw what everybody else was doing in the team, and he could go to open house. He could tag along to anything. He knew what every file, every transaction that was going on in the whole brokerage amongst everybody. So he was exposed to it all, and he just soaked it all in as a sponge. And while he's farming and learning how to build himself, he's benefiting from seeing all this. And I saw like tremendous growth, like the type of stuff that we talked about after he's there, 3 months, 6 months. His knowledge was fat. There's no way he could have done that if he was on his own. He just wouldn't have had the opportunity to experience all those things and attend so many open houses, that weren't really his deals, right? And then meet people and talk to them, and then create his own leads and everything. So I've seen it firsthand. If you're on the right team with the right leadership, how it could grow. And even over the years, say, okay, well, is it time for him to do his own thing? No, every year it's still good for him to stay. He's growing within the team. They trust him. They see his growth. He gets new responsibilities. He's one of the team guys. It's been a great situation. So that's an example of it working really, really well. And I think it's a testament to both him as his ability to be a team player and be open to being a sponge and to take it all in and use that as an opportunity. But it's also, it says a lot about the leadership of the team too. The people at the top, they're good people, good quality people trying to build a proper team and not saying, oh, we just need help. Let's give someone a job.
Yeah, and David, I think you bring up an important point. I mean, it would have been just as easy for your son to join the team and then sit back and expect the team to drive his career. Right. So your son made his own opportunity. Having the ability to go see how different team members do open houses, how different team members negotiate offers, how different team members handle listing appointments, how different team members handle buyer appointments. Having that opportunity and really partaking and utilizing and tapping into those opportunities are two completely different things. And I see this firsthand, being in the leadership position here at Sutton Summit Realty. We give those opportunities to the same realtors all the time. You would be shocked how many realtors actually take those opportunities.
Right.
And those are the realtors that, they become highly, highly successful. Right. But there's a choice. There's a choice to, tap into some of those opportunities and not. And whether you're part of a team environment or whether you're an independent agent, if you don't take on those opportunities and really utilize them to the best of your advantage, you're not going to gain as much as those people who do.
Right. And you know how I love the sports analogies of everything too. It's like you're joining the Toronto Maple Leafs and you're a young center. Maybe you're Austin Matthews even, okay? And with tremendous upside, tremendous talent. John Tavares is there, seasoned veteran. And you're not very good at taking faceoffs. So you could say, well, you know what? I don't have to take the important faceoffs on our team because we have John Tavares. I'll let him take all the important faceoffs. I don't have to be a good defensive player because I can let Tavares do it. I'll go out, try and score goals. I'll let Tavares become a good defenseman. Or you could say, no, I want to learn from John Tavares. John, show me how to take a faceoff. How come you're winning 60% of your faceoffs? Show me how to do it. I want to learn how to do it. I want to learn how to cover the top centerman on the other team and be a better defensive player too, and be an all-around player. So there are opportunities there for Austin Matthews, but it's up to him to seize the opportunity. Which way you're going to go? And some players go one way. Say, no, he does his thing really good. I'm going to do my thing. Or no, I want to do more. I got the opportunity. I'm going to be a sponge. I'm going to put the extra time and learn how to do it so I can become better. Right?
Yeah, I had a really good friend of mine visit from Pakistan on the weekend. We went out for some drinks, and he's telling me about this parcel of land that his family just purchased in Smithville, and how they're going to be building 207 detached houses on it. So of course, I'm tuned in and I'm listening and I'm asking questions. And then at the end of the night, he says, you know what, my dad's actually in town with his business partner, and they're taking us to several different sites of certain things that we're working on. Do you want to come with us on family day? And I said, absolutely. So I went on a 7-hour trip with a family that has tremendous resources and is investing in mega real estate projects all around the world. And I spent 7 hours with these guys driving to different property parcels, meeting with different planners and engineers and architects, and discussing various projects and subdivisions that these guys are putting in over the next 4 to 5 years, right? But as a leader, and as somebody that is a real estate investor at heart, I put myself in those situations and I took advantage of those situations. I could have, had a conversation with my friend and said, "Oh, that's great. Happy to hear you guys are doing well.
Well, yeah, good luck.
Good luck." Right.
Yeah.
But that's how I spent my family day.
Right. Right. Look, you get opportunity. It's up to you to take advantage of the opportunity, right? You've got to feel fortunate a lot of times to be given the opportunity. And then it's up to you, though, and you can't blame anybody else. It's up to you to seize the opportunity and get the most out of it for you. And like, being part of a team isn't for everybody. And some people are just better off doing it on their own. There's nothing wrong with that. Lots of successful agents doing it on their own. There are successful lawyers, running small practices, and they just don't work well with others. So they just can't grow. They can't be bigger than they are, but they make a living and they're just resigned to that. That's it. That's what I'm going to do. And that's it. And then there's others that can really, really thrive in a team environment. So I think it's something anybody should be checking out, whether you're a real estate agent or whether you're a lawyer. Look inward too, decide what's best for you. There's advantages and disadvantages, but you've got to be comfortable as a team player first. And then if that's the route you want to go, you think that's better for you, you got to seek out the proper leadership to be involved with, right? And like you said, the interview goes both ways. When we're interviewing candidates to join us, I'm more interested in what they're asking me a lot of times than what I'm asking them.
100%.
Okay? Like, I learned much more about it, like, when they want to know exactly how we operate, what our culture's like, and am I really as, do I ever smile, or do I look the way I do when I'm interviewing them? So I'm scaring the crap out of them unbeknownst to me. Apparently, I'm intimidating in these interviews sometimes. I go, really? But I want them to break me down and get to know me a little bit, right? They got to be asking me the right questions. I learn more from that than from what I'm asking them, because I want team players.
Right. And how they interact with you, they're going to interact with your clients, with your customers. Right. Yeah. So you want to know, hey, can they develop a relationship with me quickly? Or what kind of questions are they asking? What's their thought process? Have they done any research about kormans? Why do they want to join us?
Right.
I want to know what their work ethic is like, and questions that they ask will very quickly let me know where their head and their thought process is at, and how much did they prep for this.
Yeah. Look, a couple of our recent hirings of associate lawyers were people that didn't have a background in real estate. They had some experience under their belt, but not in real estate, but they wanted to learn real estate. But they brought something else to the table. One was doing corporate work, and one was doing some family law. And so they both brought that element to our firm, which is great for us. But they had a hunger to, we've done that. We got some experience, but we also want to do the real estate. So we'll do some of that, but we need you to mentor us and bring us along on the real estate side of it. So to me, that was a great marriage of ideas and a great opportunity for them, because they were looking for something from us, and we were looking for something from them too. And they were looking to be part of a team and grow and develop. And to me, that's more valuable than experience in a lot of ways. And I think it's the same thing with you guys. You got the right, there's certain teams. I know the teams that are successful in your brokerage, and they've got some pretty good, strong people leading those teams. And if you're lucky enough to be taken in by them, you got to take advantage of that opportunity, because the opportunity is there to grow and become an integral part of the team. You don't want to be just the rookie on the team. You want to become an integral part of the team.
Yeah, and a lot of the times we get asked, like, by smaller teams, hey, how can we grow? How can we attract more agents to come work with us? The easiest way to do that is to give back. Okay. And when I say give back, is we give our teams the opportunity to actually teach new agents coming in, right? So we give them the opportunity to run our training events for new agents, not all of them, but certain portion of them, right? And what does that do? It actually introduces the new agents that are joining our brokerage to the different types of teams, right? And if the team member, does a great job presenting on a certain topic, well, maybe that relationship is going to happen naturally, right? Where the realtor says, hey, that was a great topic, and what you guys presented was super insightful. Can I spend a little bit more time with you? Can I get to know, can I learn more from you guys, right? And that's how some of these relationships happen as well. And then the team member can also pick and say, okay, you know what? This agent was there every single time. They came early, they stayed late, they engaged, they took notes. They later on sent me a text message thanking me for my time and asked some engaging questions. You know what? This is somebody that I want to cultivate a long-term relationship with. Right. What a lot of people don't realize is that the one resource that both team leads and realtors are putting in is time. And time is probably one of your most valuable resources, right? So if you can get to know each other before committing to a relationship together, that's going to determine how successful you are and how fruitful your relationship is as well, right? So putting yourself out there and giving back and training some of the new realtors, number one, you're going to have to do that as a team member anyways, right? The two good teams do that on a consistent, regular basis. Number two, you're giving back, you're providing a valuable service to the brokerage, you're providing a valuable service to industry, you're providing a valuable service to new realtors joining the brokerage as well, and you're getting yourself out there. So that's a great way to really engage, interact, and to handpick the realtors that you want to work with.
Yeah, you got to put the time in, you got to put the effort. You've got to have a two-way interview going on all the time and find the right fit. And I think if you find the right fit, it's a win-win, for both the team leaders and the newer members joining. But it's got to be the right fit for everybody. So I would certainly encourage anybody to consider it. I think you would too. It's something you should definitely be considering it. But part of the consideration is you've got to do a self-analysis too, because if you're going into it, okay, I joined a team, it might help me put some cash in my pocket in the short term. I'll learn some stuff from them, but my real intention is just to, get experience for a year or two and then break off and do my own thing. I don't think you're doing yourself the proper service. I don't think you're the right person that should be joining that team. I don't think you're going to do it the right way if that's really what your goal is. So you've got to really, I think, decide that first. Am I really a team player? Could I stay long-term? Can I make this team even better? Help them, let them teach me. I'll learn. I'll be a sponge. They'll give me the opportunity, and I'm going to work my butt off and make this team even better than it is today. Right? If that's your real belief and your attitude, I think then you got a chance.
Yeah, 100%. And the last thing I want to leave everybody with this thought is that everybody has certain income expectations, right? When you're part of a team, it is a lot harder in some respects to attain, those levels of expectations, right? Like if you want to earn $300,000 in your pocket, being part of a team, you have to bring in $600,000 worth of business to that team to net $300,000 of results.
Right.
Right. So sometimes it is really hard to achieve those income objectives, those higher income objectives,
Right.
when you are part of a team. But the
Right.
reverse is also true, right? As the agent, right, and your strengths don't lie in lead generation, then sometimes the only way to attain those higher income levels, even though you're working twice as hard, is to get leads from the team. And then maybe your strength is closing those teams. Maybe you excel at you're not great at business generation, but you're great at actually closing the lead when you get that lead, right? So maybe then a team is the right fit for you. But I encourage anybody, come talk to me, come talk to Sabia. If you are considering joining a team, you're considering, a change in your real estate career, come talk to us. We'll guide you the right way. And more importantly, we'll introduce you to the right teams that will help you get your career to the next level.
Yeah, and I think the bottom line is there's no shortcut to success. What everybody that's successful has in common is they work hard and they take advantage of opportunities that are given, and they just don't lay back and say, okay, I'm here, so let it, what can you do for me? This is just an opportunity. You got to work hard and make it work. And just be grateful you have the right opportunity and take advantage of it. But nobody's successful without working hard. That's a given.
100%. David, this is another great conversation. Thank you so much for talking with us and your valuable insight. And thank you for sharing that story. And to everybody out there, stay safe, sell lots of real estate. And if you are considering joining a team, or if you're considering starting a team, come talk to me and I'll be happy to guide you through the process.
Yep. Thanks, David. Welcome back. And back in the saddle. And 32 is now done. And looking forward to 33 next week. We'll come up with another good topic, I hope of interest to everybody. And looking forward to that. And hopefully the market trend that you've told us about today continues. And we've got more good news next week for everybody too.
Absolutely. Thanks, David. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Welcome to David and David on Real Estate. Join us as we explore the ins and outs of the real estate market and dive deep to understand the issues affecting buyers, sellers, investors, and businesses. If you love real estate as much as we do, sit back, relax, and gain an insider's edge to the exciting world of real estate. David Gorski is a broker and the owner of Sutton Summit Realty, a powerhouse brokerage providing guidance to over 180 realtors. And David Korman is a partner at Kormans LLP, a respected law firm specializing in residential and commercial real estate transactions, with offices located in Toronto, Mississauga, and Markham.